Most productivity advice starts with the same premise. Your brain is broken. They tell you cognitive biases are glitches in your mental software, systematic errors that distort your reality and force you into expensive mistakes. But what if those bugs are actually the point? These biases are evolved heuristics, mental shortcuts developed over millennia to solve specific problems. The goal shouldn't be to delete them, but to understand how they can be strategically deployed. This is the central debate in modern psychology. On one side, you have the liability camp, pioneered by Daniel Kahneman and Richard Thaler. They spent decades proving that the human brain is predictably irrational, often at its own expense. Their work was so influential, it won Kahneman the Nobel Prize in economics. It effectively reshaped how we view decision-making in everything from global policy to personal finance, making debiasing the standard gold standard for rational thought. But psychologist Gerd Gigerenzer offers a counter-argument. He believes these fast and frugal shortcuts aren't errors, but adaptations. In a world of limited time and messy information, these simple heuristics actually allow us to make smarter decisions than a perfect algorithm would. To see who's right, we're putting 5 of the most dangerous biases through an operational stress test. We'll look at the damage they do, and then we'll see if we can write an exploit to weaponize them for ourselves. Take the availability heuristic. Your brain judges the probability of an event by how easily you can recall an example. This is why reading one vivid news story about a failed startup makes bankruptcy feel inevitable, paralyzing you before you even begin. But you can flip this. By using mental simulation, you can force your brain to visualize specific failure paths in high definition. You're using the brain's bias for vividness to run a pre-mortem, building the mental muscle to navigate those risks before they actually happen. Then there's loss aversion. As this chart shows, the psychological pain of a $100 loss is roughly twice as intense as the joy of a $100 gain. That mathematical imbalance is exactly what keeps people stuck in safe routines that offer no growth. You can hack this by using a financial commitment device. If you stake a significant amount of money on a failure condition, like missing a project deadline, you aren't just relying on willpower. You are letting your brain's natural fear of loss force you into action. If you want to see how we build more frameworks for weaponizing the mind, make sure to subscribe to Growth Systems Daily. We're moving to the biases that manipulate our sense of value. The aversion to loss and the fear of rare events are high-stakes inputs. When we reroute that energy toward the cost of inaction, we turn a mechanism of paralysis into a system for follow-through. This leads to the sunk cost fallacy, the inability to pivot away from a failing project because you've already invested time or capital. Your brain wants to justify the past, even if the future looks bleak. You weaponize this by intentionally creating upfront costs paired with rigid exit rules. By pre-committing your time, you use your natural stubbornness to push through the middle of the project slump, while the exit rules prevent you from drifting into a bottomless pit. Confirmation bias is even more subtle. It's the echo chamber effect, where we only see data that validates what we already believe. It makes us feel certain, but it leaves us blind to shifting realities. To counter this, you use steel manning. You weaponize the bias by aggressively trying to confirm the strongest, most resilient version of your opponent's argument. You're using the brain's search engine to find the highest quality counter data, making your own position much more robust in the process. Finally, Dan Ariely's research identifies the IKEA effect, the fact that we overvalue things we've had a hand in building. We think the furniture we assembled ourselves is objectively better than the professional version, even when it's not. Leaders can deploy this. Instead of handing a team a finished strategy, you provide the core components and have them finalize the execution. By assembling the final pieces, they develop a sense of psychological ownership that a polished, top-down plan simply cannot provide. The brain's habit of gripping on to what it has already invested in, whether that's money, an argument, or a project, is a constant. When we align our environments with these tendencies, we can turn a cognitive liability into a reliable system for persistence. The debate between Kahneman and Gigerenzer remains unresolved because both are right. Biases are double-edged swords. You can't fully cure them, but you can't blindly trust them either. Since we can't patch the brain's internal logic, we need an external audit. Before your next major decision, run these 5 questions to see if your biases are helping or hurting. First, availability check, deep data or vivid memory. Second, loss aversion, 0 penalty for failing. Third, sunk cost, starting from scratch, would I still invest? Fourth, the steel man, can I argue against my plan? Fifth, brilliant or just mine. These questions move your decision-making from autopilot to manual control. If you want more frameworks for mental optimization, subscribe to Growth Systems Daily. Let's build a better system.